submit to God. So Kira, if we could invite you up to the front, and we'll get started in a moment.
Anyone have an idea of what from? What rock bottom? Okay. Hold the idea there. So if you have your Bibles on phone, whatever, I think it's Luke. No, Luke 15, verse 11. Anyone like? From 11 and keep going.
Then he said, a certain man had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falls to me. So he divided to them his livelihood. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together, journeyed to a far country, and there wasted his possessions with prodigal living. But when he had spent all, there arose a severe famine in that land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine. And he would gladly have filled his stomach with the pods that the swine ate, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, How many of my father's hired servants have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.
That's not the whole story. But the so the prodigal son usually you don't associate with laziness. At least I didn't initially. And so the question I kind of want to start off with that in the background, is what do you guys actually think laziness is? Lack of motivation, okay. What else?
Wanting to do something but not actually putting in the actions to do it.
Okay, so wanting to do something but you're not putting any effort to get it done. Okay, so we kind of split between it's either not doing something or it's kind of not putting in the effort to do something. But I want to kind of slightly flip the coin and say that laziness, not necessarily by definition, by its practice, is actually an active choice, which we don't often think. We think laziness is I'm not doing anything, right? I'm not getting up to pray, or I'm not getting up to go to liturgy, or I'm not getting up to help someone, or I'm not getting up to do something. But the way I started to think about it was that it's everything in Christianity is a choice. Like every moment in Christianity, every moment in your life with God is a choice. Question is, which direction is that choice taking? Right? If we think of like up, down, left, right. Every choice we make towards God is going up. Every lazy choice we make is bringing us down. Right? It's keeping us on this flat plane. Anyone seeing any link so far to the prodigal son? I'm hoping this will like slowly start to click. Anyone? It's fine, because it's not immediately obvious. It took me a while to kind of think of where the connection arose. And so let's kind of take it from this way. If we think of laziness as an active choice of not choosing not to actually do something, what makes us lazy? What makes us pick the choice not to do something? What do you guys think? Lack of motivation. Okay, we're back to that. Yeah. No, it's completely valid. Like, you're so unmotivated to do something that you actively choose not to do it. Fair enough. What else pushes you to make the choice to be lazy? Or to make the choice not to do it?
Procrastination.
Procrastination. Over what? Like, is there a specific thing we're procrastinating over, or is it just generally anything in life, just we're procrastinating? Like, we're just sitting there like, I know I have to do it, but am I bothered to do it? Anything else? Anything else that pushes us to a choice not to do something?
I just think about the times that I've personally been lazy.
Mhm.
And I think about the effort and the time something will take me, and that kind of deters me from wanting to start it.
Okay, so you think of, the end goal, and it's like, it seems so far away that, like, what's the point of even starting? Because you don't know if you're going to get there. And it's an interesting thing when it comes back, if we think of all of those, I'm going to call them, like, don't mean to insult anyone, but I'm going to call them excuses, right? Any of those excuses that we use to stop us or to make a choice not to actually do something is like the prodigal son making the choice to take his dad's money and go waste it. Right? I've got this beautiful thing that I'm given, which is life. Right? Unfortunately, not everyone in the world gets to have a good life or gets to have a life where they make choices. Okay? But as Christians, thank God, we've been given choices. Right? And you make the choice based on what you think is best. Right? We make a choice to go to church because we think it's, the way we're going to get to God. Right? We make a choice to pray because that's the only way we're going to start getting to know someone, right? It's the only way we're going to start communicating with God, and so we make that choice. And so the prodigal son makes a choice. He says, I've got all of this wealth, but screw waiting for dad to die, let's do it now. Seems a bit morbid, but that's the idea, right? An inheritance is something you get after someone dies, or after someone older than you dies. But he's like, screw dad, screw everyone, I'm taking it now. Okay? So he takes that, he makes his choice, and he wastes it. He does whatever on earth he thinks, whatever on earth he wants to do. Like, prodigal living is a very nice verb that they use. But in certain translations, he goes wastes it on harlots, and he goes wastes it on gambling, and goes wastes it on sharaf etin. Absolutely anything that is outside the father's house. And he goes and wastes it. And then what happened next in the story? After he's wasted it. Go back to the picture. What happens next? So he comes to himself. He makes another choice to actually think about the state he's in. Right? It's not that, how do I put this? Like I said before, everything in Christianity is a choice. Even the thoughts you have is a choice. Okay? You can either ignore the thought or you can stick with it. Everything's a choice. This is why I sometimes get annoyed when people are actually not annoyed, but I was having this debate a long time ago with my mum. And I'm like, you know how we say in liturgy sometimes the things we do willingly and unwillingly, those are things we do knowingly and unknowingly. I get super confused with that because I'm like, don't we actively choose to sin? Like, what are we doing that is unknowing? Unless you don't know God. Like, unless it's referring to people who don't know God. Again, I don't know the answer to that question. You can ask the man in black. That's his job. It's above my pay grade. But it's an interesting thought I was having. Like, everything we do is based on a choice. Even laziness in and of itself is based on a choice. Whether to get up and do something or whether to sit down and, live in the muck. And hands up if you know Hopko, Thomas Hopko. Amazing priest, right? Unfortunately, he passed away in 2015, I think. But he's got podcasts up the wazoo, like all over Spotify and YouTube and whatever. Amazing guy. And he had this one contemplation on the prodigal son. And he was going on that the prodigal son had two choices, right? He either could have got up and gone to the father's house, which is what the story says, or he could have been lazy and just got comfortable in the pig pen. He could have thought, the father's house is so far away. It's so out of reach. I've already stuffed up everything. There's no way that the end result will be me going back in the father's house. And so he decides to sit in the pig pen. And this is the funniest thing is he makes the most like he's an American Russian, but he makes the most like Arab ethnic statement. He's like, once he's in the pig pen, he finds a very nice girl in the pig pen. And he sits with the girl in the pig pen. And he marries the girl. And they have a beautiful family. And in the pig pen, they live in muck. And they live in the muck, and the muck becomes comfortable. And they all enjoy the muck. And then the children find other people in this pig pen. And they all have a beautiful family. And then generations and generations happen. And they just get comfortable in the pig pen. And they create a pig pen city. And then the pig pen city needs a government, so they create pig pen politics. And they keep developing this until they become a huge city. And then one of the kids kind of talks to Geddo and is like, where were you before the pig pen? We all know you came from somewhere. Where were you before? And so these kids live in the muck, not having experienced the beauty of the Father's house. I'll try and find an icon of it like a little later, because I need to start scouring the archives. But there's an icon of the prodigal son. And on one hand, he's in the pig pen. And on the opposite side of the icon is the Father's house, which is literally depicted as angels standing around a throne. And where do we call the house of the angels? Or what do we call the house of the angels? The church. Okay? So the Father's house in the icon is represented as the church. And then the pig pen is this world that we live in. And the excuses that we make to get comfortable in the muck. All right, he comes to himself and he has the moment to make a choice. It's this crossroads. Whether do I stick with what I know because it's there, it's comfortable. I don't know if I go back to the Father's house if I'm actually going to get in. Again, he says, I'm unworthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants. That's the standard he's at now. Right? And so everything again for this guy comes down to a choice. It's a choice of whether I stay or do I go. And I was looking through images of, the pig pen scene of the prodigal son. And I liked this one most of all because he's in the middle of a movement. What's he doing? He's praying, yes, but what's he doing? Like, not just kneeling, not just pleading. One knee's down and one leg is up. He's getting up. He's had this getting to himself. He's had this choice that, he's got in his mind. I know that, my Father's servants have so much more beautiful things than I do living in this comfortable pig pen. Right? And so it's not just a thought that he has. A choice always has to come with an action. Right? It's like if you kind of walk outside and you get a cut on your leg and you're like, aha, I have to go to the doctor. I've made the choice to go to the doctor. And then you just sit there and hope this magical doctor comes and finds you out of anywhere else in Sydney and will close up your wound. Like, no. Like, in ta'abit. If you stop and think like that, in ta'abit. Like, it doesn't make sense for you to think something and not actually get up and do it. So along with everything being a choice, everything also has to come with its action. This is the one time I will bring science into any of this, because I'm very bad with science. Every action has what? An equal and opposite reaction. Every thought has to have an action. Something creates something else. Right? God just didn't think the world into existence. He didn't just think, oh, it'd be nice to have light. He spoke it into action. He made an action. There was a movement. God didn't just think, it'd be nice if everyone was, back with me in heaven and we were in paradise and we're having a good time. No, he actually came down, al-balbat ma'ana, like in our current pig pen, and then things happened. Right? It would be interesting to think the way that we think about laziness anyway. If God actually was lazy, what would have happened? What do you think would have happened? It's a very what-if scenario. If God was actually lazy and he had the choice between coming down and getting us off our into salvation, what would be the other result? Where would we be? And so I think just as basic courtesy in life, whenever we see someone do something good for us, what's the general response we're thinking? We need to do something for them, right? If someone gets you a gift, especially in Egyptian culture, it becomes a competition of who can get the better gift. Someone gets you, food, you go get them double the food. Someone gives you an iPad, you go get them a laptop. You're kind of fighting over the gift. And so theoretically, just as basic human beings, we should be thinking the same way in terms of God, right? If God isn't being lazy, if God, through a choice and an action, decides to come down and do something for us, the natural response should be that we should make a choice to get up and do something for Him. Fantastic. That's easier said than done. Right? And we thought of different things that stop us. But I recommend, if you know someone with children who are around the age of 10 or 11, or just anywhere between 6 and 11, just engage with the child, especially at a time where they've stuffed up. Because they will come up with the most amazing excuse for how it's someone else's fault. I work at a school, and so every 5 seconds, someone is touching someone else or hitting someone else. So something's happening, right? And so you go up to the kid and it's like, why'd you hit him? And he's like, no, but they did misharif, they looked at me funny, or they, touched my pencil case and misharif. I'm like, fantastic. They did that. Why did you hit him? Right? Why did you make the choice? And we come up with a million excuses to blame everything else about making the actual choice. But when it comes down to it, God isn't going to be like, the rain was outside and it was sprinkling just a little bit, and so malish, you will feel like it's, I don't know what he could say. I don't know what excuse we can come up with, but we'll come up with a million excuses. We're like kids. In the eyes of God, we're like kids. Right? We'll come up with a million different things to kind of actively make the choice not to do what we should be doing. Right? And then we blame, and we use the greatest kind of excuse ever. which I've slightly gotten sick of. We blame Satan. Like, the devil made me do this. The devil did this. The devil set this trap and so I fell in this way. Like, fantastic. The devil sets something. You make the active choice to sit in it. I get angry at myself. So, like, don't take any of this as like any personal vendetta, right? Because I get pissed at myself because, like, if I have all of these choices, if I've got all of these saints who've done all of this stuff, who've fallen into a lot of these traps, and then I also sit there and fall into it actively, and it's just like, what am I doing? So if we go through again the story of the prodigal, he's stuffed up. He spent all of the good things that he has. He finds the muck, and the muck is comfortable. It's not like he's not getting fed. He's just getting fed really crappy food. It's not like he doesn't have a place to sleep. It's just not the best place to sleep. So he's got all of his needs met. And let's be real, in the world we have all of our needs met, especially in Australia. We've got a house. We've got things to eat. We have, hope some of us have jobs. Some of us have, most of us have education, hopefully. Right? Most of us get to do things that, people in the slums in Egypt would only dream of doing. But we still manage to come up with excuses for ourselves not to go back to the house of the Father. And so hopefully we'll be like the prodigal and not just think about the house of the Father. Because I can't remember who was telling me this, but I think I was having a debate with someone about like reading church fathers and how do you get back to Christ and experience and all that. And I think we came to the conclusion that the only reason that the prodigal son actually thought or had the choice to go back to the Father was because he experienced the Father at one time. Like these kids, if we go back to the pigpen politics thing, these kids who never knew the house of the Father and they just lived in the pigpen, only knew of the pigpen. And so funnily enough, they at least have the excuse of we don't even know who this guy is. But we as Christians who should have at one time in our life experienced the house of the Father kind of have no excuse not to come back to Him. Like even if we stuffed up that badly, like again, like trigger warning for anyone who's like for what I'm about to say, but the idea of asking your father or your mother or your parent for an inheritance right before they've even died is pretty much telling them, go kill yourself so that I can get your livelihood. Right? Like that is disowning behavior. Like if I ever said that to my parents, بالشبشب على وشي or like outside the door, on my مش عارف ايه, like immediately. And unfortunately, it's what we do to God all the time. We're like, you did this for me. You decided to, debase yourself and come as a normal human being, and you decided to not have a proper house, and you decided to spend 3 years living on the road. Who knows if you were eating some days? Who knows if you were sleeping other days? You did all of this. And if you noticed, I'm very vulgar with my speech, and I deeply apologize. Abuna can forgive me later, hopefully. But we sometimes go to gods, we're like, Tuz for ummah. Like, we straight up binishtimu. And so I kind of get sometimes when we're like, I've done so much at this point, where it's like, can I even get back into the Father? Is that choice to get up and go back to Him even worth it? Will He have enough love to actually say, come back. Because sometimes I think we doubt how much God loves us. Because we're comparing him to people in the world. Or we're comparing him to past relationships that we've had with people where the love just wasn't there. And we forget that God is love. Love isn't just a part of him. It is God. Like the very fabric of God's being is love. He cannot exist outside of love. There is no possible way that God can exist if he is not love. Right? That's kind of the conclusion that St. John comes to in the epistle. Love is the thing that God is. It's not just a quality he has like we human beings. It's what he is by nature. And so, I'm going to throw my dad under the bus here. I treat my dad like absolute garbage. Like, for the amount of things he does, I bestimmel until I actually start feeling bad that I've said something. Which is very hard. I feel bad for no one. But this is the only credit I will ever give my dad, so you'll never hear this again. He's honestly like a child. In the sense that you can punch him, kick him, do whatever, and he'll forget in an instant. It's not even on his mind. I could have sworn at him 2 minutes ago, and then I asked Boba, can I borrow the car? He's like, hold on. Take it. Inshallah, you drive the car off a cliff. Just take it. It's yours. What's mine is yours. And if we hold even human parents to that kind of standard, or we've experienced that kind of thing with human parents, imagine what God is like. Especially since he's given us all of this. I think sometimes we also forget, I can keep yapping on, so whenever I need to stop, let me know. I think sometimes we forget how do you put it? How amazing it actually is to call God Abba, or to call God Father. To be called Father means you're part of the family. When you, I haven't been married, so anyone who's been married, please fill in the blanks here. When you first get married and you also have, your in-laws, there's a weird relationship there with the father-in-law because you've now become part of his family, but it also feels weird to call him dad. And so that awkwardness in being part of a family that's human can also exist, weirdly enough, if we let it, in God's family. And sometimes we do. We forget that God actually grabs you by the arm and the leg and the heel and the misharif air and drags you into the house and sits you down, and he gives you the finest robe, and he gives you the ring, and he gives you the shoes on your feet, and he kills the fatted calf, and he throws the biggest party in the world. Just for one person, by the way. Some of the church fathers, and I have no idea who, can't remember when I heard this, were even if it was only one person in the entirety of existence that sinned, Christ wouldn't have just sat up there and let that person wallow in his pity, wallow in his pig pen, yani. He's going to come down and do the exact same thing. He's going to come down, he's going to spend 33 years, he's going to get crucified, he's going to rise, and he's going to go back up. He would do all of that for just one person. That's the dude we're dealing with here. That's the level of love we're dealing with. And if we think like that, if we start actually genuinely believing that God is love, then the idea of laziness sometimes kind of just goes out the window naturally. Just think about it. You've got people you love in your life. You've got your best friend, you've got, if you've got a wife, if you've got a husband, if you're in a relationship. Because of the love that's there, the moment they tell you to get up and do something, without even thinking, you're on your feet. Like laziness doesn't exist there. It's only when you start getting sour in that relationship do you even think of being lazy. Or do you even think that there's another option other than I want to get up and do it for you? Okay? That's why when Dad asks me to do a bunch of things, I will say no. Because I don't love him enough. And that's my fault. But the opposite's true for him. If I ask him to do anything, even if he's tired, he'll get up and do it instantly. And even the choice, the thought of not doing it, or the thought of being lazy, doesn't exist purely because of that love. And so, I think, and I genuinely believe this, the solution to anything in your Christian life is to simply love God. Now that looks different for a bunch of people. Like loving God for the monks looks like getting up at 4 a.m, doing tazbahah, going back to sleep, getting up again at 6 a.m. to do ashay, to do bekr and liturgy, and then to go do work in Misharif Air. For single people, sometimes the love of God is getting up, doing your first hour, going to work, like trying your best not to swear at someone like who's cutting in front of you on the way to work, right? Treating your co-workers with respect and treating them as a Christian, and then going home and loving your family. Right, for a married person, Allah yarhamhum, like they have so much extra baggage because now they have someone who's tied to them, and so like they have also to keep up the faith, because if they fall, they bring the other person down with them. Like that's the level. Like that's why marriage, please. Like I'm not married, and if you're thinking about marriage, please think very seriously. It's nothing just to go into. Right, I know we're Masriyin and we need everyone to get married and have 1,500 children, so that the bloodline can continue on Misharif. Like, but marriage is like this really tough thing. Different topic, but anyway. Like once that love exists, laziness just goes. And it sounds unbelievable. But think about your saints, right? Anything we say in the church has an example. And I'll prove it to you. Pick any one of these saints. Someone pick one. Got a bunch around the church. Pick any one of them. Huh? St. Paul. Fantastic. Where is he? Peter. Let's leave Peter alone. Peter's been through enough. But St. Paul, right? There's one part in the Acts where Peter really wants to go to Rome. Like he really wants to go to Rome. Because he knows that his mission's in Rome, like he's dying to go to Rome to preach. But the Spirit tells him, and the Spirit actively tells him, to go to Philippi. Or to Philippi, however you pronounce it, right? And Paul could make the choice to be lazy, because he's already on the boat to Rome. Like it's not like he's sitting down and thinking, what should I do next? No, he's on the boat to Rome. And then the Spirit tells him, nah, I want you to do this. And because he so loves God for doing what God has done for him, instant switch. And he goes. No complaints, no nothing. No excuses. Like, and boats aren't easy like they are today. Like if the wind isn't right, you're not moving. Back in the day. So there's an active, hard choice he has to make. But because of the love he has for God and for the will of God, the choice becomes easy. No lazy excuse required. Pick someone else. Anyone. Moses the Black, fantastic. He meets, a Christian in one of his raids, right? And he finds Christ through this person and he goes to meet Abu Isidore. And think about who Moses the Black was, right? he was a big dude with a big army and a lot of cash. Like, he had a lot of cash, he had a lot of women, he had a lot of everything. But the moment he tasted the love of God through this other person, instant switch. Like, to the point where, you know that famous story of he went to confession, it goes from black to white? Like, instant switch. Like, confession for this guy who's never seen a priest in his life becomes an instant thing. Because he just tasted that love. He saw that love in someone else and was like, that's love. Instant switch because of love. Everything, and I mean everything in the church, any virtue, anything you think will bring you to God has its root in love. Absolutely anything. Right? And the way to defeat anything is with love. Like, I'm going to sound like a Disney movie here, but like, the act of true love is what saves the princess in the end. We can call ourselves Deloitte, we are the princess. Okay? And God's act of love is what saves us. Okay? And if we only just taste and reciprocate that love for the smallest bit, what does the father end up doing in the story of the prodigal son? Not even just accepts, what does he do before? He goes out to him. How does he know that he's out there? How does he all of a sudden have this like sense and disturbance in the force and realizes that the son's outside? He had to be sitting outside every single day. Right? And if you look at certain icons of the prodigal son, this isn't a young dude. Like, this is an old dude who's got limited time in his life and just sits out there. Like, he's actually, like, think of an old grandgeddo. You don't have much time to waste. Right? Life is limited. But this guy decides to spend that time sitting outside and waiting. Now, if God doesn't have time, he's going to be sitting there waiting forever. He will sit outside and wait until the end of days. That's love. So if laziness is an active choice not to go towards that love, then the solution is that I have to taste that love. I have to choose to get up and go to that love, and I have to start walking. And then God does the rest. You know that thing that parents say to you before an exam? Do your best and God will do the rest. It's the truest phrase I've ever heard come out of an Egyptian's mouth. Like, all you have to do is move. Like that picture, that he's like just getting up. But just in that moment, that is true repentance. Just getting up. That is the true way to come back to God. That's how you break the cycle of laziness. Just get up. Like one of the verses in the Gospel of Matthew is, the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent take it by force. It's actually a fight. Like the kingdom of heaven, it's not under attack. It's quite the opposite in that phrase. Like in that verse, it's quite the opposite. The kingdom of heaven is attacking. And only the soldier who gets up and fights in that war is gonna, inherit the kingdom. So it has to be an active choice. You can't be passive about any of this. Christianity is not a spectator sport. You can't just sit in church and hope that, like by osmosis, you become one of the saints. Not how it works. Right? Unless the angels and the spirits come and see you, this is a very different story. I don't know why you're here if that happens. So my hope is that we actually do decide to make that choice. We see the love, which hopefully is everywhere in the parish and everywhere in the church, right? We see the love. We decide we want that love. And we start making moves to get to that love. And then once the father sees the prodigal son, does he actually let him finish the sentence? Because the prodigal son has his whole speech prepared, right? He's like, Father, I am unworthy to come under your roof and shave it. And the father couldn't care less. He's just happy that the guy's there. Actually could not care less for what he has to say. He cuts him halfway through the sentence and starts getting him things. So you don't have to even like it's just a move. It seems so simple. But sometimes it's hard to just make the move. Because we look at that end goal and be like, how could the Father, after I've done all of this crap, actually come and love me? But then you've made a mistake in that thought, in that you're putting your own standard on God. God is love. End of the full stop. Like when we say in school, when you put a full stop, how do you read it? Take a breath. You end the sentence. Khalas. End of discussion. It's a full stop. God is love. So you actually need to believe it. Because if you don't believe it, you are going to start making those excuses of, what if he does this? What if he thinks that? Like the biggest stopper for me when I'm doing confession, and I constantly have this, is what's Abuna going to think? I said this last time, come in. Like I'm doing the same thing over and over again. And hopefully if Abuna has somewhat of his brain still functioning after whatever he deals with, he'll probably remember. But sorry, we call the priest the image of Christ. And what does Christ do? He takes him into the house. Husband, and anything he has to say. Doesn't let you finish the sentence. Takes you in. So please, literally for the love of God, have that mindset of this is who I'm dealing with. I am dealing with love itself. There is absolutely nothing you can do. And I promise you, there is nothing you can do that one of these saints has not already done. Like one of my favorite stories about Abu Sufyan is that after he won the war against the barbarians, he starts getting like a bit in his head. And he's like, I did it. I defeated these dudes. This was on me. And so I like to think, this isn't part of the story, but I like to think that Archangel Michael comes down, like slaps him on the back of the head and be like, but one of the angels does actually come and tell him like, who do you think you are? But I like to add the extra slap as dramatic effect. And so I promise you, I genuinely promise you, there is nothing that one of these people has not already done. So if their pictures are up here and they've already stuffed up, like it sounds weird, but what are we afraid of? Why is the choice so hard to move forward? And again, just like in that picture, it's just getting up. The movement comes on its own, but just get up. That's it from me.
Thank you so much, Kiro, for that talk. And thank you for everyone. If you guys have any questions on the talk, please feel free to catch Kiro outside and catch Abuna as well. Abuna's happy to answer questions. Just a couple of really quick announcements and then we'll head outside. So the HSC outings are still continuing. So from last week, they started and we'll keep posting a couple of them on the MYG chat and on Instagram. So please keep an eye out. If you guys are interested in going out or want any details, please feel free to message us privately. On the 29th of November at the monastery, we'll also have an open mic and youth day. So more details to come following that, but that's still pending at the moment for travel. We'll keep you guys posted. And then final, we'll just continue outside with food and fellowship. For now, we'll stand up for prayer and praise.
Alright, we're going to sing this all together, please. My Jesus, my Savior, Lord, there is none like you. All of my days, I want to praise the wonders of your mighty love. My comfort, my shelter, tower of refuge and strength, let every breath, all that I am, never cease to worship you. Shout to the Lord, all the earth, let us sing. Power and majesty, praise to the King. Mountains bow down and the seas will roar at the sound of your name. I sing for joy at the work of your hands. Forever I'll love you, forever I'll stand. Nothing compares to the promise I have in you. My Jesus, my Savior, Lord, there is none like you. All of my days, I want to praise the wonders of your mighty love. My comfort, my shelter, tower of refuge and strength, let every breath, all that I am, never cease to worship you. Shout to the Lord, all the earth, let us sing. Power and majesty, praise to the King. Mountains bow down and the seas will roar at the sound of your name. I sing for joy at the work of your hands. Forever I'll love you, forever I'll stand. Nothing compares to the promise I have in you.
Have mercy upon us, O God. Have mercy upon us. For yours worshipped and glorified in heaven and earth. O Lord, make us worthy to pray thankfully, our Father who art in heaven. And now may the love of God the Father and the grace of his only begotten Son and the gift and communion of the Holy Spirit be with you all. Go in peace. The peace of the Lord be with you all. Amen.
like,